Evening, everybody. Uh, Good evening, everybody, both online, both on Facebook and YouTube. Good evening to you. This is the first of Awaken the Leadership broadcast this year, 2021. And I trust God that the ones we have done in the past were a blessing to you, and they also have added values to your life. So I welcome all of you who are joining me on Facebook and YouTube. I trust God for today's broadcast that will be of great blessing to your life, will be of great inspiration to you as well, and will give you great learning points in the name of our Lord Jesus. Today, being the first broadcast of leadership, Awaken the Leadership in You for this year, I think is a good thing to really be able to cast our mind back to last year, how God used some of these books to be of a great blessing to us last year. And now this year, at least we must not do less than it's really a bit challenging to be able to say that we are going to do 2 books per month. I think it's better to be thorough than to just be through. So as we start off this year, I am trusting God that at least a minimum of 12 books. I think that's realistic enough. A minimum of 12 books we'll be able to look at this year and be able to do justice to it. If you can add 12 books to your life and you have some things learned from those 12 books, I can assure you that at the end of the year, you will look at yourself, you will know that you have really grown. And I was going through the folder for the books that we did last year, and I was very impressed with what I saw. Yeah, our beginning may be small, but I can see that we are going to see exceedingly great days. We had how many books that we looked at last year, and we only started in September or so. So September, October, November, December. So it boils down to 1 book per month that we looked at last year, even though it appears that we use 3 weeks instead of 4 weeks, because one Friday sometimes falls into the time when we are prayer and fasting on a monthly basis. So looking at all the books we looked at last year, to give you to jot your memory, I think we started off with the 11 Keys to Leadership by Dale M. Smith, Essential Leadership Skills at your fingertips. We look like that. I don't want to go over all those 11 keys, but the recordings are there on YouTube and on Facebook that you can always search for it, and they will greatly bless you. And then after that, we look at power thinking, which has to do with how the way you think can change the way you lead. How the way you think can change the way you lead. And then afterwards, we look at Thinking for a Change by John Maxwell, which was also of great value to us last year. And lastly, we looked at, in fact, we looked at 5 actually. We looked at what you really need to lead. We looked at what you really need to lead before we finish the year with your best year ever. So it was 5 books we actually looked at last year. So this time around as well, we are starting off this year by looking at Learning Leadership. Learning Leadership is a book written by James Kouzes, and Barry Z. Posner. So we're going to be looking at the issue of leadership again. Listen, we can never finish exploring this leadership issue. Remember what the program is itself is awaken the leadership in you, because all of us have a measure of leadership. Leadership gets you to go, and leadership gets you to get people along. Leadership is the influence you exercise based on your giftings, based on your charisma, and based on your values, based on your character and your charisma. So you keep learning about this leadership thing until we get to see Jesus face to face. So learning leadership that we're starting off this month has to do with the 5 fundamentals of becoming an exemplary leader. And it's a co-authored book. It was jointly written by James M. Kouzes and Barry Z. Posner. James M. Kouzes is currently teaching at Santa Clara University, where he is the Dean's Executive Fellow of Leadership at the School of Business. He has won many awards for his teaching style, including an award for one of the best executive educators in the US, given by the Wall Street Journal. He has teamed up with Barry Posner to write more than 30 publications, including the bestseller books, The Leadership Challenge, The Truth About Leadership, and Credibility. James Kouzes is a graduate of Michigan State University. Barry Z. Posner is professor of leadership at the School of Business at Santa Clara University. In addition to writing books and developing leadership training programs with James Kouzes, Barry Posner also consults with a wide variety of companies. He's a graduate of the University of California, Santa Barbara, Ohio State University, and the Eisenberg School of Management at UMass Amherst. So these are the people whose book we are starting off this year, Learning Leadership. And the main idea of the book is that how exactly do you learn to lead? How exactly do you learn to lead? Now, I'm going to be interjecting into the book biblical principles, biblical passages. I don't want you to be thinking that it's all about just biblical thing. No, it's not. And I don't want you to also think it's only just about mental empowerment. Yes, it's mental empowerment, but with the backbone of spiritual empowerment. I'm basically a preacher, but I'm a preacher with interest, great interest in empowerment, in enriching you in all ramifications as it is possible for me to do through information, through teaching, through knowledge, inspiring you to greatness, getting you to get all you need to get, and to be able to become a blessing to your generation. So I'm going to go through this, the learning leadership. So the reality is the best leaders are pretty much always the best learners. That's the reality of life. That if you're going to be a best leader, you're going to be a best learner. What does that mean? You will forever learn. Having a formal education is not the end of all education. That the fact that you have a formal education does not say you have learned everything. In fact, formal education only opens you up and gives you the discipline to keep growing. So you got to have to understand that the whole of life is about management. The book of Genesis chapter 2 verse 5 says categorically, I'd like to read it out for you to see. So this is how I'll be injecting this. I'll be injecting my teaching, my reading with some scriptural passages. Genesis chapter 2 verse 5. I want you to see something in there that is going to help you to see that your whole life agenda, your whole life orientation must revolve around learning about management of yourself, management of your resources, management of your person, and management of the resources that God has given to you. In fact, managing yourself, first of all. I tried to send, I sent a saying, I was meditating about certain things a few days ago, and it occurred to me that I've had, um, I've had, what's his name? Rick Warren say it before, that life is a trust, life is a test, and life is a temporary assignment. Yeah, there are three T's Rick Warren used to express life. He was trying to use alliteration of T for it. However, the truth of the matter is that even your life, is a trust. So, what do trust? What those who manage a trust? What are they called? They are called trustees. And what do? They manage a trust. A trust is uh, given unto them, and then they manage that trust. Now, in Genesis chapter 2, so also is your life, that your life is about managing the trust of life that has been given unto you. In Genesis chapter 2, verse 5, see what he says. He said, before any plant of the field was in the earth, and before any herb of the field had grown, for the Lord God had not caused it to rain on the earth, and there was no man to till the ground. So God didn't cause things to grow because there was no man to manage it. Now, I like to read it in my, maybe in my new favorite translation doesn't have it. In the Passion Translation does not yet have the Old Testament done. So I'm going to just read it in another version, maybe English Reader's Version. Okay, easy to read version. See what it says. Genesis 2 verse 5. So this was before there were plants on the earth. Nothing was growing in the fields because the Lord God had not yet made it rain on the earth, and there was no one to care for the plants. So man was actually created to manage the things that God had brought on the earth. So what were the things that God had given you? They were all given to you to manage. Your life, your opportunities, your resources, your blessings, everything God has given to you, you are the manager thereof. And there is no way you can talk about management that you won't be able to talk about leadership, because they go together. Some people say managers do things right, but leaders do the right thing. Um, Managers look for what to do, things right, but leaders do the very right thing. No, I've forgotten how is worded again. But what that just means basically is that the leadership has an edge over management, but both go together. You can't have a leadership without a management person to help you to manage, or to help to collaborate with you to be able to make the best use of the resources or whatever it is that you are trying to do. So here, we are created to be managers. We are created to be leaders. We are created to be leaders of the resources, over the resources, and managing the things that are within us and that are outside of us. So learning about this management is all life, and growing in the skill sets that are necessary to manage well is what all life is all about. So leadership is really nothing more than applying a set of abilities, which, just like any other skill set, can be learned and then progressively improved over time. I hope you got that. So while learning how to lead isn't easy, you only become a better leader when you consistently apply 5 leadership development practices. So those 5 development practices are what we are calling 5 fundamentals of becoming an exemplary leader. And what are those 5 development practices? First, believe you can. Second, aspire to excel. Third, challenge yourself. Fourth, engage support. Fifth, practice deliberately. James Kouzes and Barry Posner, the two authors of the book we are summarizing. This is book summary, not book review. It's book summary. Everything about Awaken the Leadership in You for your mental empowerment is about book summaries. So James Kouzes and Barry Posner in their book says, if you believe that the people you now lead or will lead in the future deserve the best leadership in the world, and if it's clear that there is a growing need for an increased quantity and quality of leaders, then it is imperative that you become the best leader you can be. Step one is to develop a leadership mindset. You don't have to wait for an organization to offer a program for you to become the best. Nor do you have to wait for someone else to give you permission or provide some special resource for you. So, what are the 5 fundamentals of learning leadership? Again, I'll reiterate. First is believe you can, aspire to excel, challenge yourself, engage support, and practice deliberately. There are about 5 myths that have to be shattered in this process as we go on. So, shattering these 5 myths, usually the first step towards becoming a great leader is to debunk the big 5 myths about leadership. And the first myth is that only the highly talented can be leaders. It's a myth. It's not real. It's not true. Secondly, leadership is a title. No, it's not a title, it's a function. Thirdly, you should only lead if you are naturally strong. No. Well, for how long are you going to wait until you become naturally strong? The fourth myth is that leaders have to do it all themselves. No. And the fifth myth is that leaders are born, not made. First and foremost, see the folly of this myth. Fundamental one, believe you can. To become a good leader, you have to believe that you can lead. Leaders are always learning because they have a growth mindset coupled with confidence that the future is bright. Keep learning, and leadership will flow authentically from the inside out. If you keep learning, if you become a lifelong learner, if you don't say because you have finished your book, you have finished your degree now, you finish your first degree, you finish your master's degree, you finish your leadership program, you throw the books away. No. In fact, you've just started to learn. You must keep exercising yourself to learn. Now, fundamental to aspire to excel, to lead well, you need to have clear in your mind your core values and beliefs. Good leaders are always forward looking and draw people forward towards a greater purpose than themselves. To lead, make the people who are with you successful. Please don't forget that one. To lead, everybody around you, make them successful. Some may be suspicious of your intention, but with time you will be proven right. But stick with your ideal. Stick with your belief. Some may undermine all what you are doing, wanting to bless them. Just look around with those that can receive your help and give them the help. Some may not see the value in what you're doing, but believe you are doing the right thing and be truthful to yourself that you are doing the right thing really. And then make the people who are with you successful. What are you doing that is successful? Show to them. Bring them in. Let them be part of your success stories. Let them also have stories to tell about success for their lives. Fundamental 3, challenge yourself. Remember, this book revolves around 5 fundamentals that can help you to become an exemplary leader. So third fundamental is challenge yourself. Oh, to develop as a leader, you have to step outside your comfort zone and do challenging things. In other words, get gritty. That is grit, not greed. Get gritty, grit and determination. Do things that scare you and persist. I like that. Do things that scare you and persist. Be courageous enough to head in new and exciting directions. Take up new things that can stretch you. A man was sharing with me today doing his MBA. Said he felt like giving up. I said, don't give up, bro. That's just you being stretched. He could sleep for about 36 hours doing his paper only for him to lose all what is written. His computer just decided not to cooperate with him. I said, listen, that's that's what master is all about. That's why they call it master, because it stretches you and makes you to a master, really. Challenge yourself, especially that we have come into the new year. We'll come to that later on. Fundamental number 4, engage support. High performance, including leaders, seek out support and advice on the best way to move things forward. To become a better leader, get connected. Seek open and honest feedback on how you're doing. Without feedback, you won't grow. You won't grow. So you need feedback from those above, those below, and those on the same power with you. Okay? Fundamental 5, which is practice deliberately. To get better at leading, you have to practice. Have a daily lifelong commitment to learning and then doing what you learn. Commit to being the best and then do little things every day that progress you towards that goal. Leaders keep hope alive. Good. Leaders keep hope alive. So, shattering the myth. We started with 5 minutes already. The 5 fundamentals of learning leadership. Shattering the myth. Usually, the first step towards becoming a great leader is to debunk the big 5 myths about leadership, which we have read, which are only the highly talented can be leader. That's a myth. It's not true. There's no truth in it. Leadership is a title. There's also no truth in that. You can only lead if you are naturally strong. There is no truth in that. It's just a myth. In fact, I remember in the university days, we did a course called GS001 in Obafemi Awolowo University called, we call it a Dube course because it has to do with all departments from different faculties joining early in the morning, 7 o'clock, 7 o'clock of lecture. Wow, it was tough. And I remember that that's where I heard the word fallacy, that myths are like fallacy, that there is no truth in them. So what we call myth here now, they are also fallacy. So you can only lead if you are naturally strong. That's a fallacy. Leaders have to do all themselves. That's also a fallacy. Leaders are born, not made. That's a fallacy. So there is a folly with this myth, with these fallacies. Relatively few people consider themselves to be leaders, but the reality is every person has what it takes to become a good leader. It's already in you. Rather than worrying about a question like, will I make a difference? The real question you should be asking is, how will I make the difference I want to make? Because you can make a difference. To achieve that, there are 5 myths about leadership you need to get out of the way right at the get-go. First, the talent myth. The talent myth, which says only the highly talented can be leaders. So to believe that leadership is limited just to those few who are born with the right stuff is a cop-out. Believing this myth means you don't even try because you assume somehow the dice are loaded against you. In reality, talent is overrated. Nobody in any field of human endeavor becomes a top performer without paying the price required. So there is a question of the price required to be a success. So pure and simple leadership is not a talent you have or you don't have. Now, I was sharing with somebody of recent that in the secondary school days, I was sharing with somebody that there is nothing you want that you can't get if you are willing to give time to it. Time is a commodity we all spend on earth. It's not money that we spend, it's time. Time is a resource by itself. So, and it's a resource that is given to us by God, our creator, and it's given to us in the same box 24 hours. So, whatever it is you want in life, it's just a question of exchange. Time is a medium of exchange, it's a commodity. You can't save it, you can only spend it. Now, spending it could also, you can invest it. So, if there is anything you want to get on earth at all, you just need to invest your time to acquire it. And time is given freely. So, when we talk about talent, so pure and simple leadership is not a talent you have or you don't have. It's a learnable set of skills and activities. And if you believe you can be a leader and then work to make it happen, you can improve your leadership skills. It's a question of learning, and learning involves time. Like some of the things we are doing right now, this is time sensitive, it's time incentive, it's time invested. So time is what you should always consider as what you have freely given to you by God, which you can use for exchange. I was listening to an audiobook a few days ago, and I was impressed with a story I heard in that book. And get what was the story about? It was a story about uh, how you can get rich in difficult times. Yeah, if I'm right, I think that's it. How you can, yeah, when things are hard for people, how you can get rich. So the story was told of a guy who was a cleaner for a doctor somewhere in the United States. He was a teenager, but he wanted to become a medical doctor. So the doctor trained him to be his technician, and he didn't have money to go to school. So, but the doctor saw the interest. The doctor sent him to school as a teenager, sent him to learn from the basic, from maybe junior school, and he progressed. He finished, went to high school, went to university. Eventually, he became a medical doctor. All he did was put time in. He put time into it. So the second myth is the position myth, which says leadership is a title. Whatever you have a title for is a positional thing. But you don't function based on title, you function in order to prove, uh, to stop the content of your position with something realistic, with something of value. So this myth assumes that leadership comes with a job title, and if you don't have the right job, you can't be a leader. That's not true. The underlying assumption there is only the people at the top do extraordinary things. That's crazy. Nothing could be further from the truth. In great organizations, lots of people are going places and doing great work. The word leadership means to go or to guide. Leading is about the actions you take and the guidance you give others. Don't forget that. The word leadership means to go or to guide. So leading is about the actions you take and the guidance you give others. Everyone who aspires to excel and strives to achieve, that's a leader. So what are you aspiring to be? What are you aspiring to do this year? What are you striving to achieve this year? That's what is going to qualify you as a leader. Myth number 3, the strength myth. Some people believe they should only do the tasks they are naturally talented at. And if you don't already have what it takes to be a great leader, you won't be able to lead. That's all well and good, but the concept is flawed. The concept is flawed. to think that you should only do the thing that you are naturally talented at. No, good leaders take on challenges and grow to achieve them. If you are prepared to challenge yourself to have new and better experiences, you can lead. Mistakes will happen, so make sure you learn from them and then keep moving forward. That's what leaders do. But some people don't want to because they are afraid they are going to fail. You will see the attitude you should have towards failure as we are going, and that life is all about life is about movement. Everything in life grows, moves. Anything that grows moves. If you are going to grow, you have to move. Myth number 4, the self-reliance myth. This is the myth about a charismatic leader who energizes a band of followers to do the impossible. The basis of this myth is successful leaders have to be entirely self-reliant and superhuman. Sometimes they brag that they are self-made. There is no self-made man on earth. No, we all need one another. So a variation is to view the leader as a solitary genius who toils away in obscurity and then one day makes a stunning breakthrough. The reality is today, nobody can do it all themselves. It's not possible to design a breakthrough product, set up high volume manufacturing, provide awesome after-sales service, do great marketing to attract raving fans, keep accurate accounting records and fill your tax obligations, and then build a great place to work by yourself. It's impossible. Leadership always has been and will continue to be a team sport. Exemplary leaders know how to secure the support, engagement, and commitment of others. So the last myth, myth 5, that we are looking at, is the myth, the it comes naturally myth. That is, leaders are born, not made. Oh, it comes naturally. Even though it comes naturally, you need to hear this. There are some leaders truly who make everything look so downright easy, and obvious observers put their success down to natural ability. The myth here is these types of leaders can achieve effortlessly and have so much raw talent and potential nobody is surprised they are able to succeed. The reality is exemplary leaders practice deliberately and work hard to get to where they are. They typically do something to improve every day and put in hours of practice out of sight of those they aspire to lead. There is no way around the reality that to make leadership look effortless, you first have to put in weeks, months, and years of effort into learning. That's the reality. Years of effort, years, weeks, months that you put into learning until you can master something. So being a leader is not about personality, it's much more about your behavior. Ordinary people can help and guide others to move forward. They can and they do help others and guide them to move forward. You are probably already leading some of the time, and the only remaining challenge is to increase the amount of time you spend in a leadership role. So there are basically just 5 practices which are associated with leadership, which anyone can use. Practice 1, model the way. That is, clarify your values, act consistent with those values. Practice 2, inspire a shared vision. That is, envision a great future, appeal to shared aspirations. Practice number 3, challenge the process. That is, seize the initiative to improve, experiment, and take risks. Practice number 4, enable others to act. Foster collaboration with trust. Increase self-determination. Practice number 5, encourage the heart. Appreciate individual excellence and create a spirit of community. So, the 5 fundamentals of learning leadership. Believe you can. The first fundamental, believe you can. So to become a leader, you have to believe that you can lead. Leaders are always learning because they have a growth mindset as opposed to having a fixed mindset. Coupled with confidence, the future is bright. If you have a growth mindset coupled with confidence, the future is bright. Keep learning, and leadership will flow authentically from your inside out. So, believing that you can lead others is essential to developing your leadership skills and abilities. What you think of yourself and your own leadership abilities counts, because if you don't have self-confidence, you won't make an effort to lead. Learning to lead others requires that you discover what you value, what inspires and challenges you, and what gives you energy. And have no apology for that, for who you are. Have no apology for what inspires you, what when you discover your value and you know what inspires you and challenges you and what gives you energy. Have no apology to anybody about it. Stick to what inspires you, what gives you energy. As you discover these things about yourself, you also learn what it takes to bring these qualities out in others. All that we are is the result of what we have thought. The mind is everything. What we think will become. Buddha said that in the 5th century BC, before Christ came. Admittedly, every leader has to learn the fundamentals of their field and gain the disciplines which underpin success. As you try to acquire these skill sets, there will be periods where you try new things and fail at first. You will need to learn firsthand what works and what does not. You will copy others before developing your own style. These are all necessary stages of growth as a leader, but the reality is you won't even do these things until you genuinely believe that somewhere inside of you is a person who can lead and make a difference. You get that? James Kouzes and Barry Posner in their book they said, believing that you can lead is absolutely essential to developing your leadership skills and abilities. It's this belief that provides you the commitment and sustained effort needed to become a better leader over time. No one can put leadership into you. You have to bring it out of yourself. That process begins when you believe that you can. Maybe I should tell you my story here. How I came into this understanding, how I became sold out to leadership. Because in my teenage years, when I was in secondary school, I was made the assistant senior prefect in my school that I attended in Nigeria, Ibadan. And I didn't think I performed. I didn't think I performed well because apart from the fact that I was self-motivated, I thought it was bothering people to ask them to do things. But what I didn't realize that leadership has to inspire others. Yeah, I was an encourager. I do like to encourage, but I didn't think I had what it took to be able to do. But I was made an assistant senior prefect based on my academic excellence, not any other thing. And but something happened about 10 or 11 years after I left school. I was in a bookshop. I entered a bookshop, a Christian bookshop, one day, and a book caught my attention. And the book that caught my attention was the book written by John Maxwell. And it said, Becoming a Person of Influence. That changed my resolve. That changed my life. Something was awakened from within me. A leadership drive, a leadership quest, a leadership hunger and thirst was awakened from within me. And it has not been quenched since. It's only even getting better and better. I have had something woke up from within me to say, I want to become a person of influence. Because when you become a person of influence, you actually become a leader, because leadership is influence. So the best leaders are always the best learners. That's how I started this journey of learning about leadership. They have a growth mindset. Best learners have a growth mindset and live for continuous learning. In fact, learning is a master skill for aspiring leaders and established leaders alike. Learning, ever learning, learning inconsistent with your aim, with your dream, with your goal. To lead well, you simply have to keep learning all the time. When are you going to stop learning? Never. Even when you get to heaven, we keep learning about God. Romans 11:33 says it. Oh, the depth of the riches, both of the wisdom and of the knowledge of God. How unsearchable are his ways and his knowledge past finding out. You mean we will never ever find out God. Because the day we know everything about God, we become God. But God has miles ahead of us, has millions of miles ahead of us. We will never be as knowledgeable as him, as he is. He's omniscient. He knows all things. Even the past that we knew of ourselves, we didn't really know the past because some past comes to haunt us. Some of us don't like to explore our past in order to reveal our future. So, but he knows everything. So we will ever learn. And you are better start from this side of heaven. So continuing in heaven will not be difficult for you. So there are lots of different ways people learn. Some people prefer to learn by taking action, and that's what is called kinesthetic style of learning. Oh, please do it with me. And then observing the trial and error result carefully and deliberately. Others like to learn by thinking, by reading what others have written, and adding that to their background knowledge. So that's visual. Some people are visual in their orientation to learn, or auditory style. They just want to hear you say it. I remember the man who was coming to help us repair our washing machine somewhere around 1996. This is about 25 years ago. The man was coming from Hackney. He was coming to Camberwell in England, in London. And I gave him our address. He was driving. I gave him the postcode. He was driving. He got to Camberwell Green. And he phoned me from Camberwell Green. Where is our house? Oh, that was also a learning point for me, really. It was a learning point for me. He phoned me to say, where is our house? I said, but I gave you the address. He said, yes. You're driving from Hackney to come down to Camberwell? He said, yes. Do you have the A to Z? He said, yes. I said, check the A to Z. He said, no, say it to me. I said, but you have the A to Z. He said, no, describe it for me. Then a light went on to say there are people. I think this is the problem with some people in school. Some people just love to come to class, hear what the teacher says. That's enough for them. Some people don't need to be in class. They like to do the study on their own. So there is auditory, there is visual, there is kinesthetic. Whereas I have a friend who will not be in class when we were in school. He will not be in class to hear what the teacher has said. He will not be in class to take note. All he wanted you to do is sit down with him and explain things to him, what the teacher has said and what you have learned. And guess what? You share it with him. Exam comes, he will get more than you did. Until one day say, look, I am not sitting down with you. Come to class yourself. Come to class. Because what you would do was to go around smart students in the class and be taken from what they are learning, even though it's also good for them because you learn by giving out. If you are able to teach what you have learned, you can retain it. If you're not able to teach it, you can't retain it. But he will collect from each of those students. And at the end of the day, he will score more than you do. He will get more marks than you do. Some people are like that. So you need to know how you learn. There are some people who learn best through their feelings by confronting what they worry about. Sometimes people learn best by accessing others, by bouncing their fears and hopes off someone like a coach whom they trust. So that's also is there. You can learn to lead using any and all of these learning strategies. How you learn matters less than becoming fully engaged in whichever learning style works for you. Rather than worrying about how you learn, concentrate on doing more of whichever style works best for you. To become a better leader in the future, you have to actively work at becoming a better learner all the time. James Kouzes and Barry Posner said again, learning is a master skill. When you fully engage in learning, when you throw yourself wholeheartedly into experimenting, reflecting, reading, or getting coaching, you are going to experience improvement, perhaps even greatness. Less is not more when it comes to learning. More is more. When it comes to getting great at leading or anything for that matter, you have to keep on learning. Maybe at this point in time, I can share a portion of scriptures. I'm tempted to want to teach. No, I won't share these scriptures. Some of the things I'm going to share on Sunday, but don't let me, I won't share that. But what I've just read from James Kouzes and Barry Posner's book, just remind me of that, is about learning. That when Jesus saw Jerusalem, Luke chapter 19, and wept over Jerusalem, he uttered some things, which are some of the things you and I have to really take on board. So keep in mind that although leadership can be progressively learned, not everyone does actually that. Even those who learn some leadership principles don't always master them either. So this is about mastering. Again, it comes back to your self-beliefs. If you don't believe that you can lead, you won't be too motivated to learn how to lead. Your self-belief is vitally important when it comes to learning leadership. Carol Dweck, professor of psychology of Stanford University, said, "For 20 years, my research has shown the view you adopt for yourself profoundly affects the way you lead your life. The view you adopt for yourself profoundly affects the way you lead your life. It can determine whether you become the person you want to be and whether you accomplish the things you value." Wow. You need to think about that again. So authentic leadership always flows from the inside out. You won't be a good leader until you are aware of who you are and then get comfortable with the idea of sharing yourself with others. To become a good leader, you have to understand what shaped you into the person you are. This is talking about your experience. This is real stuff here. Talking about people will say, discard your experience. No, that's not what you've got. To become a good leader, you have to understand what shaped you into the person you are. What experiences marked you, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Just flip the bad around. Flip the ugly one over. If you flip it over on the other side, it's good. You have to be very, very introspective. Reflect. So, and what drives and gives meaning to your life? What drives you? What drives your work and ultimately your aspirations to lead? Oh, all I would like to do with my life is to empower, is to enrich, is to equip. Oh, I have a dream. I would love to be our Father indeed, that inspires, that nurtures, that nourishes, our Father indeed, a source and the one that sustains, bathing and sustaining what is birth. So to reach that point, this point of self-discovery, most leaders tend to go through 3 stages of development. Stage 1, you look out and observe how others lead and excel. Stage 2, you look in. You start figuring out how you want to lead. Stage 3, you find your true voice and use your own style and words. Sometimes it could be a adaptation, could be a reimagined, it could be a meshed together, a mesh, something of different styles. Oh, I remember there was a time I was under a man for so many years that his style influenced me a lot. Influenced me a lot without me even realizing that I was being like him. I was doing things like him. But there comes a time when you have to find your own true voice. Yeah, none of us will ever play our role well in life without a role model. To tell you the truth, somebody is always influencing you. There's nothing wrong in that. But you've got to have to find your own true voice and speak with your original and natural voice. So you start by looking at observing what others are doing and copying their style. Most do this to learn the fundamentals of leadership and to acquire the tools required. Secondly, in stage 2, you next look inwards and experiment to find leadership tools and tactics which ring true and which align with your beliefs. You keep trying until you get the right blend of others' experiences and your own ideas, and therefore your own unique you emerges. Number 3, when you find your true voice. By merging what you have learned from others with your own preferences and values. By this stage, you are not just pretending to be a leader, but you are out front and doing it. James Kouzes and Barry Posner said again, no one can put leadership into you. Authentic leadership flows from the inside out. You have to liberate the capacity you already have. There is a hidden capacity on the inside of you. This is what Awaken the leadership in you is all about. By taking an inner journey to discover who you really are. Who you really are. Oh, I think I'm tempted to want to stop here, but maybe we should start the second fundamental, aspire to excel. Yeah, let me start that and stop somewhere. I've got about 5 minutes or 4 minutes, 6 minutes left. But the truth of the matter is that what this so far, I believe it has to do with self-examination. I think it may be a good idea for me to stop here for tonight. Let me just give you a little rambling along what we have just checked. It's about self-examination. I remember many years ago, around 26 years ago, I got a book. I bought a book in the same bookshop where I got becoming a person of influence. I got a book called The Power of Vision by George Barna. George Barna is a Christian researcher that researches the world of Christianity and blah, blah. And it was given 3 parameters that help you to be able to define the vision. Now, before that time, I'd been called of God. 1986, I was called, 13th of August, 1986, I was called of God. And he gave me specific instructions. But the truth of the matter is that, yes, it's called me to preach the gospel, but I have to flavor it with my own personality. I have to flavor with my own drive. It was that drive that was going to become my voice. But it was that voice I could not yet discover until I have discovered myself. And the only way I could discover myself was that I had to discover my shape. Because the way I was shaped determined the way was the reason for the way I will function. So I therefore had to discover the things. There were questions about my heart in the book that I have to answer. Oh, I remember staying up late in the night in the kitchen of our bed, in the kitchen of our flat in Camberwell then, night after night. working out, looking inward, working out all these questions that nobody ever asked me. And this book was asking me all those questions. There were close to 50 questions on about 5 different topics on know yourself. So the questions about my heart, the questions about my abilities, the questions about my those who inspire me, these questions about my weaknesses, the questions about my strength, the questions on how do you want to be remembered when you die. I have never been confronted with all these questions. But guess what? It took me night over night after night. I answer all those questions. But guess what I had to do? I had to look inward. No wonder. Proverbs 20 verse 5 says, the counsel of the Lord in a man's heart is like a deep water. It's like deep waters. So it takes a man of understanding to draw it out. So I had to draw these things out from within me. And I drew it out from within me. And I came out with a statement. I knew what all my life is all going to be about. It's all going to be about empowerment. Empowering others. It took me back to my past, bring me back to my present, and project me to my future. Why? Because those questions were probing questions. I want to encourage you, believe you can, stems from knowing yourself, first of all. Knowing the way you are wired, knowing the way you are shaped, knowing what you are packaged to be like. You are not, there is no two person like you. There's nobody else like you. You're unique, but you've got to find your uniqueness, because with your uniqueness comes your unique voice. And that is going to, if you discover that, you won't want to be anybody else. You will be satisfied with who you are created to be. Again, this is where I'm going to have to stop for tonight. It's exciting. I'm glad that we are back to this broadcast, Awaken the Leadership in You. You can always come back to this recording again and again. It's there on YouTube. It's there on Facebook. Let's also hear from you that you have been blessed with this broadcast, Awaken the Leadership in You. And I want to trust God to take you to next level, to draw you up to next level, to give you a call to the next level. Because this is the year of amazing things. You must position yourself to see amazing. This is a year of charging forward. This is a year of speaking and realizing and seeing the covenant of God fulfilled for your life. It is the year of the release of the glory of God. It is the year of leadership. It's the year of covenant fulfilled. It's the year of God pushing you forward. That's going to be your experience in the name of Jesus. This is Empowerment Hour. This is Mental Empowerment Hour. We have Spiritual Empowerment Hour on Wednesday, but this is Mental Empowerment Hour. So I hope you join us also on Sunday in our church if you live in our locality here in Luton, or you can join us online on Facebook and on YouTube. Tunde Ogedengbe on Facebook, Kingdom Arena on YouTube. We will soon merge both Tunde Ogedengbe and YouTube and Kingdom Arena on Facebook so that you are not confused. Thank you for joining me for tonight. God bless you. See you on Sunday, 11 a.m. when we have our service. It's just strictly 1 to 1.5 hours. God bless you. Thank you. Bye-bye.